when I first came up here in 1947 when I was 12 years old. That's my parents and I. We took a trip to Canada and we came through Booth Bay. And that's the first time I laid eyes on it when I was 12 years old. And my father, who was born in 1890, said that the first time he saw Booth Bay was in 1902 when he was 12 years old. So it's kind of a happy coincidence. The history of this house is remarkably simple. My parents talked a long time about having a place in Maine, and when Margot and I had 4 kids in 6 years, they decided that they would come up here and look for a house. My father always wanted a house facing west, and certainly this house measures up to that goal because we get these beautiful sunsets across Lincoln Bay. Our first summer in the house was 1963. And I can remember Jeffrey was born on January 11th, 1963, our youngest. And we arrived here, I think sometime in June or July, in the midst of a power failure. It was pitch black. That was my first introduction to this house up here in Maine. And it began certainly a legacy that continues to this day. When you talk about why I come to Maine, it's so ingrained in my soul. It's kind of difficult to pick apart the elements. Of course, the house is just full of memories. I've seen my children grow up in the house from infants to childhood to adolescence to having kids of their own, and there just seems to be a togetherness. There seems to be a solidarity up here that you just don't get anywhere else. When it comes to the Flanders family in Maine, it's part of the woodwork. It's very difficult to separate it, and the reasons are pretty simple to discern once you get out on the water. Once you sit here and you look at all the rock-bound coast and the postcard scenes. Basically, the scenes here defy postcards. You see a postcard of Maine and you say, "Oh well, gee whiz." But actually, when you see the places that the postcards are about, the view that comes to your eye is almost prettier than the postcard because you get the sea breeze, the sea air, you hear the gulls, and it's just something that is miraculous. It really is. Anytime the going gets rough, I think all of us kind of back into ourselves and we think about sitting out here on the sun deck or sitting out on the dock and sitting here in Maine looking across Lincoln Bay. Across Lincoln Bay is Burn Island Lighthouse, and it blinks red in this direction. If you're coming into the harbor, you'll get the white sector of the light, but over here we get the red sector because you wouldn't want to be over here trying to get into Booth Bay Harbor. Anyway, my father used to sit up on the porch there. He used to say that light will be blinking long after all of us are gone. And I think that remark represents kind of the eternity that you find up here with the rocks, and it's really nothing much changes. That's one of the great parts of Maine. It just seems to houses come and go and a few things change, but basically as you look out toward the water, it's pretty much the same as it was back in 1962.